Automatically. There we go. Go for it.
Perfect. All right. Let's see me. There we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this evening's presentation, LinkedIn for the Job Search New User Interface. My name is Dr. Russell Carr. I'm the Director of Career Services and Community Service here at UC. And I'm joining you from the campus, the main campus here in Williamsburg. I know we have a mix of online students and on campus, but I'm actually in my office tonight. This session is going to be recorded, so please mute your mics during the presentation, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions along the way. But during the presentation, keep that on mute if you don't mind, just to kind of help the background noise. I would like to introduce our guest presenter, Mr. Chaim Shapiro. Mr. Shapiro is the Director of the Office for Student Success at Touro College, a freelance writer, public speaker, and social media consultant specializing in LinkedIn. And I would like to now go ahead and hand it over to Mr. Shapiro.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be back and presenting for Cumberland's again. I think this is my third or fourth year presenting, and it's always been a very, very good crowd. It's a very, very engaging crowd. And the things that I like about it is, I think one of the things that differentiates my LinkedIn presentation from a lot of other people is I want this to be completely interactive. I don't use slides. I actually show a live demo of the functionality of LinkedIn. And the point is, along the way, if you have any questions you want to ask, how did you do that? Can you show that to me again? You have the opportunity to come in and jump and ask questions. So every 4 or 5 minutes, I usually pause for questions and I'll ask them throughout. And at the end, we'll have time for general questions that you might have. So what we're going to focus on today really is focusing on the profile. So we're going to go up and down the profile and talk to you about how you maximize your LinkedIn profile so that you get noticed and make sure that you're presenting your brand message in the way that you want to. Depending on the amount of time we have after that, I want to get on my soapbox for a few minutes and just talk about some changes that LinkedIn made that I'm not particularly happy with. These are all things that happened over the last 2 or 3 months. Following that, we'll look at LinkedIn and the job search and how to look for jobs on LinkedIn and potentially how to engage different people on LinkedIn, again, depending on how much time we have going forward. So again, as I go through and I ask for questions, questions are good. That's part of the process here because we really want to have those questions so we can actually show the functionality of LinkedIn as we go through. So this is the LinkedIn homepage. And what you want to do here in order to get to the edit mode of your profile is to you can click on the little picture of yourself over here, but I want to normalize going to the me button over here and then view profile because there's a lot of other options here. So it's good for people to know that they can get those other options relatively easily by clicking on that. And this is going to take me, as soon as it goes through, into the edit mode of my profile. Now you see all these little pencils means that I can edit it. I had a person I was working with once was very nervous because he thought the pencils meant that anybody could edit their profile. That's obviously not the case. This is password protected, and I'm the only one here who has the ability to go through this and to edit the profile because I'm currently in the section through my LinkedIn profile and because I have signed in. So where we're going to start are what I call the 3 most important parts of LinkedIn, the LinkedIn triumvirate. If we have any history majors, you might be aware of the triumvirate in Rome or the second triumvirate during the United States early republic. But the 3 most important things on LinkedIn are the 3 things that show up everywhere you show up on LinkedIn. Those things are your name, your headline, which is right down over here, and your profile photo. Wherever you show up on emails and connection requests, even little previews of you, these 3 things show up. So you want to maximize these things. So when people see those 3 things, they're able to engage you. They know what they can engage you about. So let's start with the profile photo. So you see here, I have a profile photo that I uploaded. In this photo, I'm actually wearing a suit and a tie. The reason I do that is because that's the clientele that I'm looking for. The most common question I get from people on LinkedIn is, well, what should I be wearing in that photo? And I think the answer really depends on who the clientele is. If you're going to a networking event with the leaders of the industry that you're looking for, what would they be wearing in that particular event? So that might be very different, for example, if you're going to look for work in a startup or a Google than it would be if you're working at a traditional kind of bank kind of place. So you want to have the clothes that matches and make people feel that you actually will fit in. Now, I actually don't have a professional background here. It's better, but I just happen to like the way the lighting hit on this picture. But usually a professional background makes sense. If you can't get one, just an iPhone against a white wall usually works very, very well. See here, there's a lot of edit capabilities here with your profile photo. So you can go in here. And if you want to, you could change a bunch of stuff over here. You could zoom in, zoom out. add different filters and all different things to make the profile photo the best that can possibly be for you. Then after you're done with that, you hit the save button, and that will actually put your profile photo up over there. So you want to make sure to have that profile photo. I'll say it makes a big difference when you have a profile photo versus the blank thing, because people relate when they see other people's faces. When they don't see that, it's much more difficult for them to understand and really relate to you. So I think it's very important to have the professional headshot photo. Okay, the second part of the LinkedIn Triumvirate is right over here. This is the LinkedIn headline. Now, I call this your LinkedIn elevator pitch. If I know nothing else about you besides your name and your photo, what is it that you do that makes me interested in wanting to pursue a connection with you? So this is your opportunity to tell people what you bring to the table and what you're able to do. As a LinkedIn consultant, that's the majority of what it is that I'm selling to people. So I'm talking about being able to provide LinkedIn consultation, but also the fact that I'm a board certified coach and give presentations. So this is going to look different for a student. Just to see here, this little pencil over here is where you get into the edit mode. And as soon as this clicks through, if you go down over here, this gives you the opportunity to change that. So you can put in multiple characters. And I happen to like separating different ideas with a line, or I happen to have this little flow motion thing over here because people don't tend to read big blocks of text very well on social media. So this here really should represent who you are and what you bring to the table. So when I see that, I know what I'm going to be getting if I'm clicking on your profile. So I always ask for examples. So here's a student of mine. Can you guys see this LinkedIn headline example page? Showed up, Drive page? Yeah, okay, great. So this is one of my students. She says she's an aspiring computer science major. She told me what she's experienced in terms of what she's able to do professionally with different kinds of software. And then also that she's actually very passionate about inspiring the next generation of women in tech through Girls Who Code. I think this is absolutely perfect because it tells me who she is, tells me what she's an expert in, and she also tells me about the extra stuff she does to give back to the profession. So I think that's a really, really good example of somebody who has done that right. I was going to get to the name here, and after the name, we're going to actually go and stop for questions. So name here seems simple, but it's not as simple as it seems. So some people you might see will put Chaim Shapiro, and then they'll put their degree, MED, Master's in Education, PhD, whatever it happens to be. I usually advise against that, and the reason for that is because when you're an advanced user, if people are trying to tag you, and hopefully we'll get to this a little bit later, it makes it more difficult when you have those extra things after your name. So keep it to your name generally. And the other part is, by the way, it doesn't look as professional. I personally believe with those extra things. LinkedIn could give a feature for that, and they do not. So that's why I recommend keeping it with just the name. Now, if you have an additional name, this could be a maiden name. This could be if you have a nickname that's professional, people know you as. I work with a lot of Orthodox Jewish students at Turo, and their Hebrew name might be Yitzchak, but they have a name Isaac that people know them as. And what they're able to do then is just put in the word Isaac and click the save button, and look what happens over here. As soon as this clicks through, you'll see here it adds Isaac between the first name and the last name, and that way people can see, oh, Yitzchak is also Isaac. I know him as Isaac Shapiro as opposed to just Yitzchak Shapiro. So I want to pause here for questions. That's a LinkedIn Triumvirate. Any questions about the LinkedIn Triumvirate? I think somebody just, I think it just crossed off. Any questions about that? Excuse me, can you put on mute, someone on mute there? Yes, please.
Can you like tell me again how you place that Isaac in between your names?
Yes. So if you go to the little pencil right over here, and when the name thing opens up over here, what you can do is additional name. I didn't have anything there, but you put the additional name in there, whatever the name is. Once you click the save button, it's going to add that in between in parentheses, okay? Any other questions?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Great. So I'm going to keep moving on. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. But a couple of other things that are very, very important here is the background image. So this background image over here is something that you can change. I would say definitely don't want to have the standard blank background. This is an opportunity to help promote your brand. Now, as a person who claims he can give excellent LinkedIn workshops and webinars, I have a picture of myself giving a LinkedIn webinar to some very interested students. So to me, this really, really sells me. So I've seen accounting students putting QuickBook pictures and things like that, or presentations or whatever it is that really sells them. But when I see the profile, I think, here's the person who does X, Y, and Z. And you can also edit these things over here just to show you with this particular picture. You can move things up, you can move things down. Now, I would have preferred to have this picture a little bit higher up, but this cup was in the way, so that actually prevented me from doing so. But you can change this, add filters and all sorts of other things to make sure you're getting your message across the way that you want it to. I think it's very, very important to make sure that you actually personalize this. There's a website called Canva where you can actually make LinkedIn headline backgrounds for free. So if you want to go on Canva and put in LinkedIn accounting headline backgrounds, usually it'll allow you to create something that will be very, very good. It doesn't cost you any money. So that's something that I recommend that people do on a semi-regular basis. Okay. So that's the background image. Next thing that I want to talk to you about here is this public URL. So you see here, mine is linkedin.com/in, and then my name, Chaim Shapiro. The default for this was Chaim Shapiro and a bunch of other letters and things. And yours might actually be that. And the way you change that, to show you that again, a little pencil right over here, click on that pencil. It'll open up another page. On that page, right here at the top, this little pencil right over here gives you the ability to clear out all those things and try to get your first name, last name as your LinkedIn URL. Now, if your name is already taken, Chaim Shapiro is not the most popular name. You might have to put a dash in between the name, a dash after the name, an underscore. This might be where you put in Chaim Shapiro MED, for example, if you can't get the name. But once you click the save button, this is going to be your new URL, and your old one is no longer going to be in force. And one of the great things about this is once you make this professional URL, you're actually able to utilize it as a signature line on your resume and things like that, because it looks much, much more professional at that point. So click the save button. After you do that, that will save that, and then that will become your new URL. When you go back to this page, very, very important, always refresh the page because it sees you as having been on a second page. And I've had a couple folks that have gone in and made changes and things after going to that, and they actually lost those changes because they hadn't done that refresh button. Now, just to show you a couple other things here in this main part section right over here, I'll click on this button and I'll pause for questions right after this. Come on now. And now it's being stubborn. There we go. Okay, good. There are a couple other things here that are very, very important that I want to highlight. So you have your name. We talked about that. There's also the opportunity here to add your pronouns. So if you have pronouns, gender pronouns you'd like to add, she, her, he, him, they, them are the ones they offer, but you could also put in a custom one that best reflects your gender identity. I do want to show you something because custom gives you the opportunity to put in your own custom things here. And this is a LinkedIn trick that people have been using. I want to get your thoughts on this. So some people are saying, hey, you know something? This is a good opportunity to sell myself. Because if I put in LinkedIn expert here and click the save button, look what this does on my profile. Okay, so we'll go back to my profile. Now people can see very clearly, I'm sorry about that. People can see very clearly right past my name that I'm a LinkedIn expert. I'm trying to get back to that right now so you can see it. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's a good idea, a bad idea? Time to speak up. Anybody?
Looks good.
What's that?
I think it's a
Looks
good
good.
idea to display it.
So I think it's a good idea in terms of the fact that it actually does present you and give you the opportunity to spend more of a narrative of who you are. I don't think it's a good idea because this actual feature is really set there for a particular purpose. And I don't want it taking away from the value that it actually adds to the people who actually need that. So I would generally recommend against doing that. Not because it's wrong, just because I think it takes away from the value of what's added. You see here also, there's actually a little opportunity to put a voice recording of your name. So if you have a name like Chaim, it'd be very difficult for people to understand how to pronounce that. So if they click on it right over here, and you guys can tell me if you can hear this in 1 second here.
Chaim.
Did you guys hear that? So I can pronounce my name. What some people have done is, hi, I'm Chaim Shapiro, LinkedIn expert. Again, I recommend against that. You can use anything on LinkedIn to promote yourself, but I think there's value to what these things are for, and there are reasons for not using it for other parts of that. So I'm going to get rid of the LinkedIn expert. It'll go back to what I had and just show you a couple other things right here as well. Just moving down the profile here. You want to choose your industry. So this actually, oops, you can actually go in here and I can erase this and start choosing some other things. You want to make sure you sync it with one of the options they currently have here. So if I was in software, for example, here are different choices. Click on the one that's most closely related to your profession. One of the great things about LinkedIn is they added a whole bunch of options to this very, very recently. And moving down here, I better put higher education back because that's gonna play games with me. There we go. Okay. So another thing that you have here on the same page is the ability to include your location. And you see here, United States, I have my postal code. Now here's a choice that I made. I chose the New York metropolitan area as opposed to the little hamlet I live in West Hempstead. Anyone want to guess why I did that? West Hempstead's more accurate, right? That's where I live. But the answer to that question is most people have never heard of West Hempstead outside of Long Island. And people have heard of New York. So when they see New York, they relate much more to my profile. So to me, the New York metropolitan area is much more important than the local one. You could change that if you really wanted to. For example, if you're really, really targeting a local community, you could definitely change that to the other one. But I think it's much better that way. Okay, any questions about anything we talked about in the top card here? Save this so I get rid of the LinkedIn expert. Any questions? Okay, so I'm going to keep working my way down the profile here. Next thing here is to change your contact information or to set up your contact information. This is not at all intuitive. You want to hover above contact info right over here and click on it. And this gives you the opportunity to set a whole bunch of things. Now you want to click this little pencil. And this will give you the opportunity here to put in your cell phone number or regular number and your address. Now, I don't want people showing up at my house. I do include my cell phone number. And yes, I do get spam calls because of it, but I'm getting spam calls all day anyway. And I'd rather get 10 spam calls rather than miss one important particular phone call. The other thing here that's very important is to make sure you have a current email listed here. This is one of the most frequent mistakes I see people make on here. They have an email from 10 years ago and it's not current. So they made this very easy now. This little pop out right over here will take you into your settings and you can actually choose which is your primary email and secondary emails as well. You can make any one of these primary when you switch. For example, when you leave Cumberland's and you might have your business email, you can make that your primary if you wish, or you can keep your regular personal Gmail, AOL account as your primary. So it's important to check that and make sure that's up to date because I know a lot of people reach out and they're not able to get people because they have the wrong email address in there. Okay. In addition to that, I have my birth date on here, not the birth year, because that's a security question. Because people do send me birthday greetings. It's a great opportunity potentially to engage folks. And I have a URL of my personal website on here as well. So that's the top part here with the contact information. I think it's important to make sure it's all up to date and it represents what you want to represent. So that's the top part here, including the contact information. I wanted to pause here again for questions. If anybody has any questions about anything we've spoken about so far. Nothing, huh? I'm explaining it personally, perfectly, Russell, right? Perfect explanation. Okay, great. So next thing I want to talk about is the open to work frame. Now, this is a little bit of a controversy amongst LinkedIn consultants. You see here that you can actually click open to work. That's over here. If you don't have it set, you click the open to button. If you click on this, you'll see here that I actually have a list of positions that I am open to. So if somebody who's using the recruiter platform wanted to, they could reach out to me for these particular positions. But here's the choice that I made. I'm very, very happy at Turo. I don't want anybody at Turo know that I'd be interested in, because I'm not interested in looking for another job. But if somebody offered me $1 million to come somewhere else, I would definitely consider that. So recruiters have access to see that I'm open to those positions. Now, if you click all LinkedIn members, this is the important thing. Click all LinkedIn members here and then click the save button. And don't worry about posting what it's going to ask you to post here. We don't want to send that post, but look what it did here. It added the open to work frame to my profile photo so that anybody who goes onto my profile is actually able to see that I'm open to work. Now, I would say there's probably about a 65-35 split as to whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm in the minority here. I tend to recommend people not to put the open to work frame on their profile photo because people make very quick judgments when they're seeing somebody. I don't want the first thing someone sees about me is the fact that I'm open to work. I think there are other ways to demonstrate that on your profile. I recommend against it, but I will tell you that I'm definitely in the minority amongst LinkedIn consultants, many of whom claim that more people get job opportunities by having open to work there. Now, just if you want to get rid of that open to work profile, you'd have to go back in over here. And when you click on that, you'd have to go back and change it back to the way that it was before, where it's recruiters only. And that way only recruiters see that you are particularly open for positions. And as soon as I click that, and the save button, don't want to just, okay, there we go. And it should, when I refresh the page, hopefully, get rid of that open to work profile photo. There we go, frame, and that's gone. And then I can always edit back whenever I want to. Again, to me, I think it makes sense not to have it, but you could definitely, the majority of LinkedIn consultants do recommend that you have that. Okay, I'm gonna keep working down the profile here. Now, one of the changes LinkedIn recently made is something called creator mode, which most people don't use. What I don't like is it's going to be switching the featured section over here with the about section. It's going to move your about up higher. So I'm going to talk about about next as opposed to featured, which is the way that I did it last year, where I did featured first because creator mode was a valuable thing. Now, the about section is your opportunity to give more of a narrative about who you are and what you bring to the table. I see a question up there.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
please.
Could you please show me how to hide open to work again?
Yes. So it all comes down to, if you have open to work over here already, click on the pencil. And it all comes down to whether you actually have decided to share the fact that you're open to work with recruiters only or all LinkedIn members. If you click all LinkedIn members, it defaults to open to work frame. If recruiters only, it takes it off. So if you want to take it off, you have to go to recruiters only.
Okay.
There's no way to be open to all LinkedIn members without having it on there, which I think is a horrible flaw on LinkedIn. They should let me do what I want with this, but they actually don't. So if you click to recruiters only and click save, it'll take the open to work frame off of your profile photo. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, my pleasure. Okay. Well, the about section down over here is an opportunity to give more of a narrative of who you are. And I think I was once actually at a session. I told people that nobody likes Seymour. And there was actually somebody in the session named Seymour who got very upset at me. But what I was trying to say is that nobody clicks the Seymour button on anything. So the part that's above the fold, as we used to say in the New York Times, the part that was in the actual news box, which I'm dating myself, maybe Russell knows what I'm talking about, but that's the most important part of this. So the stuff above here is really, really important. There's a lot of stuff you can put there under the Seymour, and it is searchable, and people are very interested, you can see it, but it's not as valuable as the stuff you put up here. I like to see these be able to become live links, but that's another one of the things for my wish list. So I click the Seymour button. You'll see here I have a bunch of other things here that people can see if they're very interested in my profile or if they're doing a search. The way you edit that is through this pencil right over here. And one of the big changes from last year is you're actually able to put a few, I believe 5 different skills and have that right up there showing up in your actual about section. I think this is very, very important because you can't necessarily assume people are going to scroll all the way down your profile and see all the skills that you have. So I think it's very important to put your top skills in here. We're going to talk about skills a little bit later, but this is a great new feature where you're able to add the top 5 skills. And you'll see here, it does show up very, very high on your profile. Oops, no, down over here. There we go. So people can see that very clearly. And again, I think it helps present your brand message to folks. Now I'm going back to the featured section. This is going to be moved down for creator mode, but it's still in the same place for people who don't have creator mode. Again, as a person who claims to give excellent LinkedIn workshops and webinars, I'm not going to click on it, but people can actually go right over here and click on the one that I gave for you guys last year. This exact session that I gave last year and watch the video. So I don't need to sell myself. They can actually see what it is that I'm capable of doing. So students who've done presentations and things like that, those are all things you could add over there. In addition to that, you can actually add a copy of your actual resume. The reason this could be valuable is not everybody is that proficient on looking at things on LinkedIn. And this gives them the opportunity to download a copy of your resume directly onto their desktop so they can share it with the folks who haven't come to a Chaim Shapiro LinkedIn session. So I think it's very, very important. You could add things or edit the order by doing it this way. And just to show you here, you could add links and articles or media, whatever it happens to be, to make sure that you're highlighting your best stuff. I think the first thing you have there is obviously the most important, because the further along you get, the less likely it is that anybody's actually going to look and read what you actually have written there. So it's important to have your most important thing first, your second most important thing second. Any questions in the chat? I see there's a couple chat things here. All right, so let's move on down the profile here. Okay, so the next is your work experience. And it's very important to do a couple of things here. Now, you'll see here that I've been at Turo for a very long time, thank God. And you'll see that there's this consistency because it shows that I've had this position over a long period of time through multiple positions. And I'm going to show you how to do that and make sure you have that. in addition to making sure that you're actually connecting directly to the place of employment. So you'll see here that the trick here, the reason this goes down like this is I started this new position July 2023, and this one ended in July 2023. You can have 1 month differential. So for example, if that ended in June, that'd be fine as well. And you'll see here also with the one all 4 experiences here, you can actually see that for the job that I had before, even that is also up there because July 2016 is right before the one over here, July 2016. So that makes sure that links up and you can see that consistent. Otherwise, what it might do is actually put it up as 2 different work experiences. But a couple of important things here. So if you click the little pencil right over here, you can get into the edit mode of this. And what you can do is, first of all, make sure you sync this with the actual company. So you see I have this little logo from Touro University. Look what happens if I get rid of the Y in Touro University. That disappears, which means I won't necessarily show up in searches for Touro University. It doesn't look as nice. Sync it, click on that button, make sure you click, you are actually not click, you are actually put together with the right one. Also, by the way, turn off notify your network because you only want to put that on when you're actually going to be making major changes to your profile. Sometimes when you make minor changes, it sends out alerts and it's really not something you want people to get. In addition to that, I just cut and paste my bullets off of my resume directly into this to give people more of an idea of what it is I was able to accomplish in each of these positions. Now, another one of the things I don't like about LinkedIn is LinkedIn does not give you the ability to go in here and actually use a bullet thing that would make sense. It just doesn't line up appropriately, but I just cut and paste it anyway, because I do think it's important for people to be able to see what it is that I've been able to do and what I've been able to accomplish. In addition, something they added over the last year or two, you see here, I could actually add skills to my jobs as well. So people can see the skills section when we get to that in about 10, 15 minutes. You could actually see where you've utilized those skills and which place in your jobs. And I think it's very important to include that there as well. If you want, you could also put other presentations in here. So here's a presentation I gave a year ago, and I have that slide deck in there so people can access that as well. I think it's very, very important to make sure that definitely that you sync it, you get the dates correctly, and you show that flow if it's consistent positions. You know, in addition to that, here you see I have my side hustle. This is the business I do, which I'm doing right now. I have the same kind of information over there. If you want to, you could always go in there and you can change the order and put your side hustle first when it becomes your main hustle. But for me, the most important thing is what I'm doing at Touro. And one of the most important questions I get is how far back should you go on this? And I think it's a very, very fair question because on resumes, generally people say don't go back more than 10 years, don't go back more than 15 years. To me, because this is not a resume, it's not limited in terms of space, the vast majority of people are not looking down here to what I was doing when George H.W. Bush was president, right? For the beginning of it anyway. Okay, they're not going to be looking there. But if somebody's very interested in me and they're interested in hiring me and they see those things, I think it gives them the opportunity to get more of a perspective of what I've done over the years. So back in the day when I was in college, I was hauling furniture and working the register. I wish I was still capable of hauling furniture. I'm not actually physically capable of that anymore. But I think it gives a broader perspective of who you are and what you're able to do. And it doesn't hurt as long as it's a positive work experience. So to me, there's no reason not to include things from even a long, long time ago. You see, here's a job I had, which does not actually have an account here on LinkedIn. And that's why you see here, there's this blank thing, which does not look in my mind anywhere near as good as the ones that actually have those things synced to it. Okay, any questions about what we've spoken about so far? Nothing. Wow. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next piece, which is going to be my collegiate experience. And I'm glad I'm giving this in February because any NCAA basketball fans? Yes, no, maybe somebody, anybody? It's okay if you're not, but just same thing here. Under my education, click the little pencil, and I want to make sure that I'm syncing this with the University of California, Riverside. Same thing here. If I get rid of the E, look what happens. That gets rid of that. And it also means I won't necessarily show up when people are looking for alumni of those institutions. Now, why did I bring up NCAA basketball? I'll tell you why. Because as anybody knows NCAA basketball, there's been a couple of times in the last 6-7 years where my previous school, Loyola University Chicago, the Ramblers have done very, very well and gone pretty far in the tournament. So what I often do during this time when we're getting into the tournament, especially if Loyola is doing well, is to go to the reorder button here. And I pop Loyola up above the University of California, Riverside. And that's what's going to show up first. And actually, if I go up back to the top of my profile, it's going to change it up there as well. And, when people are thinking about basketball and teams in Loyola University, and that shows up over here, I think it gives me a little bit of an added value. But again, usually the way that your standard way to do it is just to put whichever the last education you had is, and put that as the one that you want to have most recent. So that's usually how you do it. Again, except if there's a particular reason why I want to highlight a particular one over another one. And that's the reorder button here is what I need to do. And I'm going to move UC Riverside back up here. And hopefully if my Ramblers make it into the tournament and do well, we're going to switch that back over the period of time. Okay, any questions so far? About anything we've spoken about? Okay. So I have license and certifications. We'll talk about adding other profile sections, but I want to get to the next important one here, which for students is usually the skills section. Now here's a change on LinkedIn I don't like. It only shows you the top 2 skills, but you could actually add a whole bunch of other skills to this. If you click the plus button, it should give you the opportunity here. And of course, it's not. There we go. To add up to 100 skills. And this is a recent change. Until recently, it only lets you put 50 skills up here. Now you can put up to 100 skills. And I have had a little change of heart since the last time we've gotten together a year ago about this. I've always said in the past, you want to put the higher level skills here, not, dedicated, motivated, organized, and things like that, because you only had 50 skills. I think that's not the case anymore with 100 skills, because there are people who use the recruiter platform looking for candidates, and these things are highly searchable. And now that there are so many skills available, they might be looking for those particular skills. But I think generally you want to highlight the top 2 skills should be the skills that are most important for what you're trying to sell. So I click this little pencil right over here. Sorry for how slow this is going. There we go. You see here, if I go to reorder button, it gives me the opportunity to choose which are my first and top 2. I choose the 2 that are most important to me. This used to be 3. I got another change that I don't particularly like with LinkedIn. But if I want to move resume writing up to the top, just do that. And it should change around that as soon as I refresh the page, and resume writing, there we go, it will be on the top. But I think it's important to highlight your top 2 skills that sell you in the best possible way. Now, one of the most common questions I get is, well, how do I know what skills to include? How do I know what skills are most important to employers? And that is a very, very fair question. And the way I tell people to do that is look at the company pages from some of your target employers. So I'm putting in here EY, which is an accounting firm. A lot of our Turo students actually apply to and work at EY. So this is they're going to be their, let's see here, let's look at the right one. Maybe it is. All right. What do UI? Oh, not yet. There we go. First thing that went wrong. All right. Let's try to EY again. We'll try it again. I don't know who Yalcone is, but he seems to want to show up here. We're going to try to get back to EY. And I'll show you what I'm trying to say here. Okay, come on now. I'll try refreshing the page because this is taking much longer than it should. And again, I apologize for that. Is the benefit and drawbacks to technology. I was really thinking about it today, Russell. All right. So hopefully I'll be able to show you. Went back to Yale. Okay, let's try a different company. Maybe that'll work better. Well, I didn't test it before. All right. I'll try Deloitte and see if anything comes up. I apologize for this not working, but what's supposed to happen is you're actually able to check on a particular company. And when you check the company, it gives you a highlight of, okay, now let's try this. And hopefully this is going to work. And again, I apologize for that not working before. If I click on their company page, now it looks like it's working. Now here's what you do. You're on the company page, click the People tab. People tab is right over here. And then you'll see it has a lot of information about the people who work there. The ones that are going to be most important to you are going to be clicking this next button twice, and it actually shows me what they're actually skilled at. So you see here, these are the general ones: Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Office. Don't care much about that. The ones I'm looking for are the project management, communication, accounting, analytical skills, financial analysis, business strategy, because this shows me what people at the current company actually have and what this is their skills. And if you start triangulating around 2 or 3 companies, it gives you the opportunity to actually put things in your actual account that you have in your LinkedIn account that actually reflect what it is they're looking for. By the way, you can also go in here, and I didn't test this before because I tested it with but I'm guessing there's going to be people that from the University of Cumberland. You can actually see here specifically 44 associated members from the University of Cumberland who are working at Deloitte, and these are their skills. So you can actually see the skills that actually work from your particular school. Plus, by the way, you can actually see those people over here and potentially message or connect with them. We'll talk a little bit more about connecting with people a little bit later, okay? So that's the skills. You can just take those skills. You want it to be accurate. You don't want to just put skills down because they sound good. They want the skills to actually be reflective of the skills that you actually do have. So it's very important to make sure you choose those skills wisely, because again, in terms of the search capabilities, that's one of the things that they're going to be looking for, particular skills, recruiter platform that actually sell you in the best possible way. Okay. Now, the last major thing I want to show you here on the profile is the recommendation section. So if you go down over here, it's important to give people the opportunity to give them more of a narrative as to who you are and what it is you're able to bring to the table. As you see here, Chloe gave me a recommendation for giving a LinkedIn workshop, and this allows people to see what she had to say about me. The way you request one of these is you click the little plus button. One thing is very important here. You need to be connected to the person you're making the recommendation request for. So you want to make sure they're connected to them. If I go in over here and I start typing in the name of, let's see, we got you here, Russell.
Two
We'll
L's,
just
that
use
might
anybody.
help, maybe.
I'll just use anybody for the.
There you go.
There you are. All right. Anyway, but I click the continue button here, and you can see here I can choose how I know the person. This is and what the position I was in at the time. This is the important thing. You want to make sure. I'm not sure what just happened there. The important thing is you want to make sure you personalize the message to the person. You don't want to just send them the message that that says that they're, hey, will you write me a recommendation? You want to actually personalize and say, hi, Russell, would you write me a recommendation for the fact that I gave a number of great LinkedIn workshops for, you know, for Cumberland's over the years. And that way you can personalize it and they can actually see what it is that you want them to say. Then they have the opportunity to go and they'll be able to write the recommendation on their own. They cannot add the recommendation to your account. You have to approve it before they add it to your account. So when Chloe sent this to me, I got a chance to take a look at it and say, oh, I love this. I'm happy to post it. Or I could have chosen not to. Another thing I could have done or can still do under the edit button is to go back to anyone that's given me a recommendation and then ask them to actually make a change to the recommendation. So I can go in over here, click this button and say, hi, Chloe, thank you so much for making this. And this is where I want to be. Specifically, could you mention how I talked about the anger I currently have with LinkedIn over the changes they made and how I'm at the forefront of trying to force LinkedIn to give back some of the things they've taken away. So I think it's important to have multiple recommendations on your account. The recommendations usually be for somebody who's senior to you. Usually it's not going to be your roommate or somebody you went to high school with. It'll be a teacher, an advisor, professors, people you've worked for and things like that. Usually I think you want to try to get to at least 3 to 5 different recommendations, because I cannot prove this, but I personally believe once you get to 3 to 5 recommendations, it actually kicks you up in terms of the search ranking. So I think it's important to get to that 3 to 5. And it's the last thing to show you here. A lot of people have a lot of different things that they could add to their profile. You'll see on mine that I have projects on here. I have my license and certifications. If you go to add profile section, that's where you get to add all those magic. So education, under recommended, you could add projects, courses, other things. Under additional, patents, publications, honors, awards. I actually had a client once actually who had one of my sessions who actually had a patent, which was actually really, really cool. Test scores doesn't mean that you got a 95 on your biology midterm. That's talking about like CPA test scores, or it's kind of test scores for actuarial exams and things like that. But you can add those things depending on what is most valuable for you. Okay. So that's the quick part about how to set up and maximize your LinkedIn profile. I have a bunch of other stuff to show you, but I want to pause here because it's a great time for questions. Questions? Anybody? Anything on the profile?
Yeah, just wanted to ask you, where you showed like if you can go to a company and you can search up relevant, I think a number of employees with relevant skills and all that.
Mhm.
Can you like show that again, please?
Yes. So I'm just choosing EY and I'm hoping it works this time. There we go. If I click on their actual business account, the valuable stuff is under people. If you click on this people tab, it's going to show you all that information. And then you could actually make this completely searchable. So you're able to go in here and put in keywords, where they studied, where they're from, United States versus somewhere else, what they do. So if, for example, if you were interested in information technology at EY, which isn't their specialty, you could actually click information technology and see which skills information technology people at EY have listed, and that can give you a better idea of the kinds of things you want to include in your skills right over there. Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you. Just another question in this regard, like, there are many companies that have like different profiles out there. So how would you know like which one is the right profile?
So I think you want to look at sometimes, yeah, there are ones that have multiple profiles. Look for the one that usually has the most followers. Let's see if we can, I'm not sure if we can see that here. Or sometimes you have to search and see there's 352 associated members. That's probably the correct one because there are going to be very few smaller companies that have that kind of numbers. If you're looking for small companies, you just need to be careful. It's always buyers beware, right? Because you want to make sure you're getting the right one. Well,
Okay,
but you want to make sure that you get the right one. But usually
all
it's
right,
not particularly damaging because, again, if something
all
that's really,
right.
really weird, I would advise you not to add it anyway. Most of the stuff is generally going to make a lot of sense to people, okay? Other questions about the profile?
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Other questions? Because if not, I'm going to get in my soapbox for a couple minutes here and talk about something that I really, really don't like that LinkedIn did over the last couple of months. LinkedIn is a social media platform. It is all about networking. It is all about connecting with people who are of importance to you. And I think it's very important to allow users to be able to do that. So look what happens here now. If I go to Randall's profile, just a random person. I'll get to your question in a second, Anna. If I go to Randall's profile over here and I click more to hit the connect button to connect with him. And I always advise in the past, what you want to do is you always want to send a personalized message to somebody when you're connecting with them. Tell them why you're connecting, why you want to connect, how you know them, something like that. But look what happens when I click add a note now. And this is a change over the last 2 months. It tells me I only have 3 personalized invitations left for this particular month. In the past, you had basically unlimited. You send up to like 10 a day, I believe, and maybe 100 a month, but now it's limited to this 5 or 10. I think this is an absolutely horrific change for LinkedIn for people who are starting out. You know, for me personally, I have about 25,000 connections. So I don't send that many connections. For folks who are starting out, I think this is a really, really bad change, and we all need to start talking to LinkedIn and change it back, because it really takes away from the value of students who are trying to build their network and really connect with the people who are of value for them. So this is the change I really, really don't like. Again, I want to say this as often as I can, because I'm really hoping LinkedIn changes this, because it really does hurt people who are starting out. And look, $19.99 a month is the cheapest plan for premium. Is a lot of money. And I don't want people having to pay back their student loans for 30 years of $19.99 a month just to be able to send the connection request, which is the basic point of LinkedIn in the first place. Now, so there were a couple of questions.
Yes, so I was wondering if there's any way we can potentially locate companies that are recruiting on LinkedIn.
That are recruiting, that are actually looking for jobs
Companies that are looking to
to hire.
hire.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm actually going to get to that in about 3 or 4 minutes. Yep, that's actually next on my one thing before that. Than that, yes, great question. Thank you. Other questions?
Yes, hi. Going back to the introduction section of the profile, I think you showed it towards the beginning. Like where you have under your name.
I'm going to go back to that. Yeah, the headline.
Yeah, the headline. I'm not really sure how to set it up. I'll just tell you what I wrote based off of what
Okay.
you said, and if you don't mind, if you could tell
Sure,
me if
please.
correct or not, because just a short biography is basically what I do is I've done customer service and break fix, where I basically repair computers, and I haven't done a coding job, but I've studied coding at school currently.
Right.
So what I've written is just information technology specialist, line customer service representative, line experience with PC and laptop repair, both software and hardware, line skilled with SQL, Java, C++, and web development.
Yeah, I think that's very good. That
Okay.
sounds like you're expressing what it is that you want to be able to provide to somebody. So somebody sees you, they'll be able to know what you do. Thank you so much for that question. Other questions before I get into I do want to show the job tab, but if any other questions, or I'll move into the job tab. The first thing here, this is the jobs tab right up over here at the top. You click on that. I think there's a underutilized service here on LinkedIn that I want to point out first, and I'll show people how to find who's recruiting. There's actually an interview prep tool right here on LinkedIn that gives you AI, artificial intelligence readout as to how you're answering particular questions. If you go in over here and you give it an opportunity to practice, you can actually go in and give answers to these questions. And it's not going to see it on here because it actually have to have it on the computer you did it. But what it does is it gives an AI readout underneath. It tells you whether you're speaking too quickly, you're speaking the right way, whether you're stammering, things like that. It's a very valuable way to practice these questions and get perspective from AI in terms of how you actually did. Perhaps even more importantly is when you, after you finish the question, tell me about yourself, you can request feedback from your friendly neighborhood career services professional, again, somebody you're connected to. But for example, I can go to my colleague at Turo and particularly send her a copy of the video that I made, and she'll be able to give me an assessment and evaluation of how I did on that particular question. I think it's a very valuable tool that people aren't really utilizing. So I think it is an important thing to have, and it's free. It's on the free side. So there's no reason not to utilize that and get that AI readout. Okay. But in terms of looking for jobs, so here's the job tab right up over here. And you could search here by title, skill, or company. You'll see here, I put this in before. I chose finance in Williamsburg, Kentucky. You can change this to whatever it happens to be. All of these things are things you put in: salary, remote, when it was posted, how far these things, they're all things you can change to make sure you're getting the actual results that are most of value to you, and you're not actually just wasting your time here. Once you find the things that are valuable and it's giving you the kinds of position you're looking for, you can set up an alert so it actually sends you an email either on a daily or a weekly basis with all those positions. So you don't need to constantly check this to see if there's anything new over here. But one of the reasons I like the job board on LinkedIn a lot better than the job board in other places is because it gives you the opportunity to show who your connections are at these particular places. So if I click on this right over here, this is at KPMG. You see here that it shows me that I have 13 connections, 13 people I'm connected to that are currently working at KPMG. Now, it doesn't mean they're working in this position, but it means they're working at KPMG. And if I click on that, what I can actually do is say, oh, I know Sydney. Let me see. Let me send Cindy a message and ask him for his advice on applying for the particular job that I'm interested in at KPMG. So it takes what is otherwise a very cold lead, because I don't know anybody per se at KPMG, and gives me the opportunity to make that into a warm lead. Another thing that's important here, it also shows me school alumni. And this might be people you connect to, it might not be, but a lot of times alumni from your particular institution would be more willing to make a connection with you and help you find an opportunity in those particular companies. Just to show you what not to do. Don't click the connect button over here because that's going to send a connection that's automatic. This is the situation. If you find somebody maybe with the same major, the same city as you, from Cumberland's, click on their profile, and that's when I would use one of your 5 or 10 connection personalized requests and just mention who you are, that you're a Cumberland student, and you're looking for some advice on applying to a position at KPMG. That will give them the opportunity, if they're willing to actually help you with those things, okay? So just to go back over here, then you can always change this to whatever it happens to be. You can change the location, you can make it nationwide, you can make it remote, whatever it is that actually gets the specific kinds of positions that you're looking to actually get for. So it's important to set this up, I think, and have those alerts sent to you. It doesn't cost you anything to have the alerts. So I think it's a great way of making sure that you're staying on top of the changing job market within your particular area. Does that answer the question about companies that are hiring that we had before?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
great. Also, you see there's certain things to salary. And here's another place. They're trying to sell you on something. You see this, am I a good fit? They're going to ask you, if you do that, they're going to ask you to pay for a premium account to tell if you're a good fit. You know how you can tell if you're a good fit? Read the responsibilities. You can tell if you're a good fit based on whether you have the ability to actually meet what they're actually looking for. So you don't need to actually pay for the actual LinkedIn premium account. Okay. Another thing I want to show you here is the fact that because LinkedIn is so important in terms of being able to network, and LinkedIn is a very, very social network. one of the things you want to do on a regular basis is to check people who have viewed your profile. You see over here, this is a LinkedIn homepage. If I click here on profile viewers, on the free side, this actually is going to show me generally the last 5 people who viewed my profile. So these are the last 5 people who have looked at my profile. Now, to me, if somebody's been looking at my profile, they're showing interest in me. And if they're showing interest in me, I want to follow up with them. So Lauren, I already spoke to. Tracy, I know what she's talking about. But this is an opportunity to send them a message and say, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for viewing my LinkedIn profile. Please let me know how I can be of assistance. Because the fact they looked at my profile is a buy signal. Now, if you pay for a premium account, you could actually see 90 days worth of people have viewed your profile. But for most folks, if you check this once or twice a day and it defaults to the last 5, you're not going to need to pay that extra money because you're not going to miss people who are viewing your profile. But I think it's a very powerful way of talking to and interacting with the people who've already shown a particular interest in you. So I think it is a very, very important thing to do. Okay. Any questions about anything we spoke about before and up to this point?
There you go.
Thank you.
So one of the other things that I think is very important on LinkedIn is to make sure that you're engaging other people, posting and responding to posts. Let's start with responding to posts, because I think a lot of times for a lot of people, they're focused on posting their own content, and they're not focusing as much on making a reputation and name for themselves. So a topic that is clear and near and dear to my heart, student loan forgiveness. If I click on that, and LinkedIn actually is getting rid of the hashtag, so don't worry about hashtags right now. If I go in here and I search posts where people have utilized that over the last period of time, and I want to go in here and I'll change this to the last week they posted. I'm changing to, let's see, this is 8 months ago. I'm going to change this to the last week. If it lets me, should let me. And if it doesn't, oh, there we go, past week. And that'll sort. So whatever your area of specialty is, whatever you're an expert in, SQL, whatever it happens to be, do the searches for those things. That gives you the opportunity to see people who are talking about that. And here's your opportunity to engage. Heather was talking about this particular topic. Now, what I have the ability to do is read very carefully what she said and actually comment while tagging her, so she actually sees that I'm actually interested in following up with her. So if I go here and click the add button, it's going to give me the opportunity to add her name. I don't need all of the things after her name to get rid of this. And I can put a really sharp comment here that shows I really understand what it is that she's talking about. It's a great way to start building your reputation as a person who's a particular expert in a particular area. I think it's something that I highly advise people do in their, by doing searches and finding things and topics that they really can add value. And it's also a great way to particularly necessarily target somebody you're interested in. You know, I talked about when you do send those connection requests, and you send the connection request to the person that we talked about before, it's, you know, people might want to be able to accept your connection request. They might not want to be willing to accept your connection request to get requests from a lot of people. If I look at Michael's account here and I scroll down, I can actually see on his account some of the activity that he's done here. Here's his recent activity. So I can see he's posting on a regular basis. And I could see and wait and see, oh, Social Security, hang on a second. I know a lot about Social Security and retirement accounts. That could be my opportunity to start building a relationship with Michael without just sending him a blind, sort of blank or even personalized connection request. Because he actually is engaging with me already. I'm engaging with his stuff. Oh, I know that Shapiro guy. Yeah, I'll connect with him. That gives you the opportunity, again, to turn some things that are cold leads into actually warmer leads. So I think it's important to do the searches and start engaging people. And if you have particular targets that you're looking for, look at their recent activity to see if there's a particular opportunity to engage. If I wanted to, I could just click on this right over here. And again, this will give me the opportunity to go in. As soon as the page comes through, I can go down to right after his comment and tag him. There we go. And then put whatever my comment is after that so that he sees it. That's going to show up in his notifications. The whole know that Chaim Shapiro tagged him. And that's the way of starting to build a relationship. Any questions about responding to posts or engaging people or searching for posts? Because there's one last thing I want to show you guys if we have time. We have about 5 minutes. But yes, question, please, KP.
Can you repeat the last thing you said, please?
About engaging people?
Yes, please.
So if I'm looking for a particular person, as opposed to engage a particular person, as opposed to a subject, what I would tell people to do is to look at their profile
Okay.
and see what they've been commenting on in the past. Because it actually shows you, if you scroll down on their profile, it should show you what they've been commenting on in the past. And these are your opportunities to engage them and let them know who you are on something you're an expert on without just sending a connection request that they don't know is coming. So it's a great way to start building a relationship with somebody. That's another thing on my soapbox. LinkedIn used to have a connection to Twitter on here. We could see people's Twitter's account. And that was a great way to engage folks, because if they were talking about the Super Bowl last week, you talk about that as opposed to business things. Unfortunately, LinkedIn got rid of that. So the best way to currently do that is to actually do it here via what they posted recently, and then go into their account and start engaging with their posts. And then when you send them that connection request in a week, the personalized connection request, hi, I loved your post about Social Security. You know, I really agree with you that Social Security needs to be reformed so that people my daughter's age are able to access it when they reach 65, whatever it is. And then when you're actually going to send them that connection request, it is no longer a cold request. It's actually going to be a warm request. Any other questions? We have about 3 minutes left. So I want to say the last 3 minutes for
So
any
how
questions.
are you
on LinkedIn.
getting smart It seems like you're getting smart recommendations like takeaways, why is gray font on white
Yeah.
friendly?
You're 100% right. And let me tell you something. It's another one of the things that I really dislike about LinkedIn. They are trying to get you to pay for a premium account. So look what happens if I click
Yeah,
takeaways.
they are.
Yeah, if I click takeaways, it's going to tell me, oh, you can get takeaways. You just have to pay for it. And look at
But
this,
I
by the
do
way.
have premium. Even then, I don't get this.
I think that I'm not sure. I think it might be certain premium tools. I'm not sure which ones actually do that, but I don't think it's really worth it.
So is it the
I think-
takeaway? Takeaway is the comment that you can post, or
No,
takeaway?
no. Takeaways is what they're basically going to say. This is a summary of the person's post. So I can
Oh.
actually go on here and actually comment on the person's post without that. So click comment and tag them and put that in there. And then whatever the comment's not showing up, but her name will show up. And that you don't need to pay for the takeaways or the comments. Just read the article. And the thing that I dislike the most is once I click out of this, look at this. It just stays here. It's like a bad rash. It doesn't go away because they're trying to do everything they can to get me to pay for that premium account. I don't think it's worthwhile for most students to actually get the premium account. Other questions about anything about LinkedIn? Because we have about a minute and a half left.
Hi, Jam. I have a question regarding like jobs tab. If we go to the jobs tab,
Mhm.
and sometimes it is saying that directly apply to the website. So if we are applying to the website, how we will know that my application should not get rejected, because we are getting rejected mails sometimes if we directly apply in the website.
Right. So sometimes, yeah, they have easy apply. Sometimes it actually takes you to an outside website to apply. What I tell people to try to do is try to find those connections. You can't guarantee that it won't happen, but if you have warm leads that are actually at the company, either those alumni that we talked about, or your one connection who works there, and you utilize them to help you get your resume in to the company, I think that's a better way of doing it. But there's no guarantees that it won't be rejected. And they do reject a lot of resumes, but if you utilize your connections, it definitely makes it a lot better in terms of your chances, because it's no longer a cold resume being sent through what we call the slush pile. It's a warm resume being sent to a connection or through a connection. Other questions, please.
Hi. So I have a question regarding job search. So there are many jobs which requires TSI active clearance, and I'm not a citizen of US, so I don't have the clearance. So is there any way to filter out jobs on LinkedIn?
That's a question I've never been asked. I would say go to all filters and see if that's one there. I don't know if that is or isn't. I haven't been asked that. I don't know, but I don't think that is one. But you might just have to look through it more closely and carefully.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
I
Thank
don't
you.
see that, but it's a definitely a great question. I don't know offhand. Other questions? Yeah, about
Yeah, I have a question.
yes, please.
It's like I kind of recently applied to a job in PepsiCo, and I'm wanted to connect with the hiring manager, but how do I find out who the hiring manager is? Because sometimes they show it under the post.
Sometimes
like
they
you
show us, sometimes
posted.
if they don't
Yeah,
show it,
sometimes
it can be
they don't.
difficult to find. If they do show it, and I don't have one, here it is. This is the person here. Here's what I would do. Okay. Don't click message here because it's going to try and charge me for this message. This is where I'm going to actually write a personalized. I'm going to go to Sangeeta's profile and click that connection if it lets me. Yeah, they should be open to it. Connect and send a personalized message there. add that note. That's a good time to use that one if it does show you. If it doesn't show you, I don't have any particularly good tips on how to find it. A lot of companies are very, very good at hiding that. But that's an opportunity to send them that connection request, as opposed to trying to send them the message that they're trying to get you to pay for. Great question. Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, so I think that was a great session. Thank you so much for your being involved and really asking really great questions. Hopefully we'll have the video soon. Russell, you want to take it home?
Yes, thank you, Chaim, very much. Hopefully everyone benefited tonight. I know I learned some new things that I didn't know. Every time I listen, I learn something new. So thank you all very much. And there was a question in the chat about the recording. Like Chaim said, we are recording tonight, and I will be sending that out to you all. Give me maybe 2 or 3 days just to get it edited and everything, but I will send it by email. And there'll be a link you click on, and that's how you'll watch the video. But I will send that out to everyone. So just be patient, and I'll get that to you. So outside of that, thank you all very much. Actually, we're 2 minutes over. So we did pretty well. That's not bad.
This is great.
Yeah. So
Thank you so
all
much for
very
the opportunity.
Yes.
I'll see you tomorrow, Russell.
Yes, I'll see you tomorrow night. And everyone, I'll read the chats. If there's a couple of chat questions that I can answer, I'll get those emailed to you. Thank you all very much, and have a great night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.